Paris, the most visited city on earth, where millions arrive each year along these golden avenues. Nearly 30 million travelers come here every year, drawn to its palaces, its art, its timeless glow. They come for beauty, for light, for love, a feeling only this city by the river gives. But here is what almost no one knows about the city, the whole world thinks it understands. This city began as mud, dark river silt, and reeds on a forgotten island in the Seine. A handful of wooden huts on a river island, wrapped in mist, with no hint of greatness. Home to a tribe that mighty Rome had barely heard of, watching the river from the bank. No walls, no stone, no empire, just reeds, water, and a quiet island waiting for its destiny. Yet 2,000 years later, kings would kneel right here, crowned beneath stained glass before God himself. Revolutions would be born here, in torchlit streets where ordinary people raised the tricolour and changed everything. And armies would die to possess it, marching through smoke and fire toward a burning, unforgettable skyline. So how does a swamp of mud and reeds become the dazzling capital of the entire world? This is the story of Paris, 2,000 years carried on one river through triumph and ruin. And it all begins with a single island, a green sliver of land in the waking Seine. The year is 250 before Christ. The Seine runs wild through empty forest, reeds, and morning light. A wandering Celtic tribe arrives at a bend in the Seine, carts laden, searching for a home. They call themselves the Parisii, proud people of the river, marked by bronze torques and woven cloaks. They choose an island in the middle of the river, ringed by water, easy to defend. Easy to defend, impossible to surround, the river itself becomes their wall on every single side. Water on every side, a natural fortress glowing at golden hour, calm and safe above the current. They build their homes from timber, thatch and mud, working the daub as the hearth smoke rises. They fish, they trade, they mint coins of gold, proof that this little tribe is already wealthy. For 200 years, the Parisii are free, prosperous, and at peace beside their slow, life-giving river. Then, in 52 before Christ, Rome comes, and the legions of Caesar are marching across all Gaul. Caesar's legions are devouring all of Gaul, tribe by tribe, with cold discipline and unstoppable force. The Parisii face an impossible choice, their elders arguing late by firelight, submit to Rome or resist. They join the great revolt of Vercingetorix, raising swords and horns against the might of Rome's eagle. It is a death sentence, and storm clouds gather over the island as the cold light fades. Roman legions march on their island, shields locked, advancing across the misty marsh with grim, silent purpose. The Battle of Lutetia is brutal and brief. The Parisii fight bravely, but they lose everything. Their fields burn and their leaders fall, smoke and embers rising into a sorrowful red dusk. But Rome does not erase the city. Its engineers climb the hill and plan something far greater. Rome rebuilds it in stone, raising cut limestone walls on the hill where wooden huts once stood. A forum, baths, and an amphitheatre of stone rise up, a proper Roman city beside the Seine. They name it Lutetia, City of the Parisii, the name carved deep into fresh Roman stone. For 300 years, Rome rules the Seine, its markets, togas, and steaming baths filling busy streets. Then the empire itself begins to crack, its proud walls weathering and crumbling as the light fades. Barbarian raids creep closer each year. From the walls, the people watch smoke darken the horizon. The people retreat to the island, streaming across the bridge to the safety of the ancient fortress. The island that saved them once must save them again, standing silent beneath a brooding twilight sky. By the year 400, the Roman world is dying, its grand buildings abandoned and overtaken by weeds. Barbarian tribes pour across the frozen rivers, breath steaming in the cold dawn, an unstoppable, terrifying tide. The island's people are terrified, huddled together by candlelight, waiting for an enemy they cannot fight. But legend says one woman refuses to run, standing firm with a candle while the others tremble. Her name is Genevieve, a young woman of fierce faith who becomes the eternal guardian of Paris. When Attila the Hun draws near, the city panics, watching his dust clouds swell on the horizon. She tells them to pray, not flee, gathering the crowd by candlelight as fear turns to hope. And Attila turns aside. The horde wheels away across the plain, and the city is miraculously spared. She becomes the city's patron saint, her candlelit shrine glowing for centuries with the prayers of Parisians. Then comes a king named Clovis, a fierce Frankish warlord in fur and iron, seeking a capital. He is first to unite the scattered Frankish tribes, their spears and banners raised behind one ruler. In 508, he makes a fateful choice, standing on the island, gazing over the waking river Seine. He makes this island his capital, and Frankish royal banners unfurl over the river at first light. For the first time, Paris rules, a king enthroned in a torchlit hall as the courtiers bow. But power turns a city into a target, and something menacing stirs in the dark water beyond. In 845, dragon-headed ships appear on the Seine, gliding silently up the misty river toward sleeping Paris. Vikings, hundreds of them, rowing hard upriver, shields lining the hulls and grim death in their eyes. They burn, loot, and vanish into the smoke, leaving riverside villages in flames as terrified survivors flee. Again and again they return, dragon ships sliding past under blood-red skies, a relentless and merciless threat. But in 885 they come to stay, a vast fleet choking the river before fortified Paris. "40,000 Norsemen besiege the island, their camp and siege towers ringing the city in overwhelming numbers. The city holds for a year, barely, its exhausted defenders bleeding on the battered walls at dawn. Paris survives, but everything has changed, the scarred city standing in clearing smoke as the sun rises. The count who defended it is hailed a hero, sword raised on the wall as soldiers cheer. In 987, his heir Hugh Capet takes the crown, lowered onto his head in a candlelit church. A dynasty begins that will rule France for centuries, its court parading through Paris beneath proud banners. And Paris becomes the beating heart of France, its bridges and towers thriving along a golden Seine. By the 1100s, Paris explodes with life, its market streets crowded with merchants, color, and restless energy. In 1163, they begin an impossible dream, laying the first stones of a cathedral amid rising scaffolds. A cathedral so vast it takes 2 full centuries to build, rising slowly stone by patient stone. Notre-Dame, a mountain of stone and faith, its twin towers and rose window rising into the sky. Inside, light itself becomes a sermon, colored rays pouring through the great rose window across the floor. Then, in 1257, a different revolution begins as robed scholars gather to argue ideas in candlelit halls. A scholar named Robert founds a small college, lifting a book before rapt students in warm candlelight. It will grow into the Sorbonne, the intellectual heart of a medieval university quarter teeming with students. Students flood in from across all of Europe, filling sunlit courtyards with hungry minds and many languages. Paris becomes the mind of the Western world, a radiant city of cathedrals, schools, and brilliant ideas. By 1300, 200,000 souls live here, packed into a dense sea of rooftops and spires. The largest city in all of Christendom, its crowded bridges and gleaming towers glowing at golden hour. But in 1348, something invisible arrives by ship, slipping ashore through the cold fog of a quay. It comes by ship, by rat, by breath, spreading unseen through the shadows of every crowded dock. The Black Death. Within weeks, it empties the streets, leaving shuttered houses and a dreadful grey silence. Within months, the dying fill the streets as cloaked figures haul plague carts through the cold fog. Perhaps half of Paris is gone, the grieving city emptied beneath grey skies, scarred by mass graves. And the horror is only beginning as war banners crest the grey horizon beyond the grieving city. England and France are locked in endless war, two armies facing off across a cold grey field. 100 long years of it, leaving battlefields strewn with fallen banners, drifting smoke and exhausted nations. Paris is occupied, hungry and divided, foreign soldiers patrolling its grim streets as frightened locals shrink back. Then a teenage girl changes everything, reining her horse before the walls as her white banner snaps. Joan of Arc attacks the very walls of Paris, charging the gates through arrows, smoke and chaos. She fails, she is wounded, she is captured, dragged from the field as her banner is trampled. But the tide has turned, French banners rising over the gates as pale dawn warms the stone. By 1453, the English are driven out, and cheering citizens flood the streets to reclaim their city. Paris has survived both plague and a century of war, battered but standing as the rebuilding begins. Scarred, bloodied but utterly unbroken, Notre-Dame standing defiant against a fierce dawn as the city endures. By the 1500s, Paris dazzles again, its lavish courts glittering with silk, art, candlelight, and untold wealth. Art, wealth, and grand palaces line the Seine, fountains and statues gleaming in the refined golden light. But beneath the beauty runs a dangerous fault line, a city quietly splitting between shadow and light. Catholics and Protestants, a city divided by faith, two wary crowds facing each other across the square. In August 1572, the hatred explodes, dark rooftops waiting beneath an ominous blood-red moon as dread gathers. St. Bartholomew's night, a great church bell swings at midnight, tolling the terrible signal across dark Paris. A royal wedding becomes a massacre, the candlelit hall freezing in alarm as the first screams begin. Thousands of Protestants are slaughtered in the streets, and grey dawn reveals an emptied, devastated city. The Seine itself runs red, its dark water drifting past at grim dawn as the city mourns. All Europe recoils in horror as couriers spread the grim news to courts left stunned and disbelieving. Then a king dares to end the hatred, Henri IV standing resolute and weary at dawn. Henri IV grants the Protestants peace, setting his seal to the Edict of Nantes by candlelight. He rebuilds Paris in brick and stone, raising the elegant Pont Neuf and a new royal square. Paris is well worth a mass, he says, gazing over his rebuilt city from a sunlit balcony. His grandson will be called the Sun King, posed in blazing gold as France's dazzling radiant center. Louis XIV, the most powerful man alive, enthroned in blinding Baroque splendor as the court bows. He does the unthinkable, turning his back on the city, gazing toward distant Versailles at golden dusk. He abandons Paris entirely for Versailles, an immense palace of endless gardens and gold beyond the city. The court leaves, but Paris does not fade, its streets still thriving with life, trade, and energy. Something new is brewing in its crowded cafes, alive with coffee, pamphlets, candlelight, and increasingly dangerous conversation. Philosophers gather and ideas turn dangerous, leaning in across candlelit tables as revolutionary thoughts begin to crackle. Liberty, equality, the rights of man. Words scratched out by quill on a pamphlet in the candlelight. Words that will soon shake the world, passing hand to hand through dim cafes as voices rise. The city of kings will soon belong to the people, storm clouds gathering over a breathless Paris. July 14th, 1789. Paris boils over, a furious crowd surging through the streets with makeshift weapons. The people march on a fortress prison, flooding toward its looming walls in their tens of thousands. The Bastille, grim symbol of royal power, its stone walls bristling with cannon under a cold sky. They storm it, they take it, the world watching as weapons rise on the ramparts in smoke. A king's authority cracks in a single day, his royal banner falling as the tricolour flags rise. The tricolour flies high over Paris, snapping open above a roaring crowd as sunlight finally breaks through. But revolutions devour their own, a dark square waiting in dread as a scaffold silhouette looms. Hope curdles into fear, candlelit tribunals pointing accusing fingers as paranoia hardens every face in the room. They call it the Terror, a square now dominated by the guillotine, stark against a grey dawn. The guillotine never stops falling, the crowd watching the blade rise again against a cold, leaden sky. a king, a queen, then thousands more hauled through grey streets in a slow, creaking tumbrel cart. Even the revolution's own leaders fall. Once powerful men led up the scaffold steps with heads bowed low. No one is safe. Fear rules the city. Frightened faces watching from behind shutters as boots pass. From the chaos, one soldier rises, a young, sharp-eyed Napoleon with quiet ambition burning behind his calm. A young general from the south, Napoleon barks orders amid the smoke as disciplined troops instantly obey. He seizes power and crowns himself emperor, raising the crown above his head beneath Notre-Dame's golden arches. Inside Notre-Dame, he takes the crown himself, setting the laurel upon his own brow with fierce pride. He remakes Paris as a capital of glory, monuments rising and a triumphal arch climbing into light. Monuments to victory, streets of triumph, grand boulevards lined with imperial eagles and triumphal stone everywhere. His armies conquer half of Europe, endless columns of the Grande Armée marching out beneath imperial eagles. But ambition flies too close to the sun, storm clouds gathering to swallow the light over Paris. Then defeat comes and the emperor falls, a lone silhouette before a once glorious city fading into grey. Yet Paris keeps the grandeur he gave it, his monuments standing proud against the warm golden sky. The Arc de Triomphe still rises today, towering and timeless above the city it was built for. A century of revolution has reshaped the city, monuments and boulevards sprawling with momentum beside the Seine. Yet the greatest transformation is still to come as a doomed medieval alley waits in the dusk. Paris is about to become the city of light, lamps flickering to life across rooftops at dusk. In 1853, an emperor orders the impossible. Two men bent over a map of Paris tracing boulevards. Tear down medieval Paris and build anew. Crews ripping through cramped streets as the dust billows skyward. One man leads it, Baron Haussmann, surveying the rising city from a height, plans rolled in hand. Grand boulevards replace the tangled streets, wide and symmetrical, lined with elegant matching facades in golden light. Parks, sewers and gas lamps along every street, a lamplighter sparking them to life as warm dusk settles. Paris becomes the most beautiful city on earth, boulevards and domes glowing in radiant Belle Époque light. Then, in 1889, the city reaches for the sky, the Eiffel Tower's iron lattice climbing above Paris. A tower of iron, the tallest on earth, soaring high over Paris against a luminous golden sky. At first, critics call it a monstrosity, top-hatted gentlemen scowling up at the strange new iron tower. But the world calls it a miracle, crowds gazing up in awe as the tower glitters alive. This is the Belle Époque, the beautiful age, elegant Parisians filling glittering cafe terraces with effortless joy. Art, science and pleasure light up the night, cabarets and lamplit boulevards alive with music and laughter. But the 20th century brings a shadow, cold grey clouds rolling in to swallow the tower's light. June 1940. German tanks roll into Paris, grinding down a deserted boulevard as the silent city shutters. The occupiers' flag hangs from the Eiffel Tower, draped over the monument beneath heavy, oppressive grey skies. For 4 long years, the City of Light goes dark. Blacked-out streets patrolled past fearful, shuttered homes. But beneath the silence, Paris resists. Fighters huddled over a hidden radio in a shadowed, candlelit cellar. Then, in August 1944, the city rises, citizens and fighters heaving furniture into barricades as gunfire echoes. August 25th. Paris is liberated at last, jubilant crowds flooding the streets as Allied tanks rumble through. De Gaulle march down the Champs-Élysées, striding through an immense roaring crowd as the whole city celebrates. The City of Light burns bright again, liberated Paris ablaze with flags and golden light once more. Paris had survived its darkest hour unbroken, the free Eiffel Tower glowing against a triumphant golden sky. "2,000 years, one island, one city, the ancient sliver of land and the modern skyline together." It began as mud and wooden huts, a humble island in the Seine, where everything quietly started. It survived Rome, the Vikings, the plague, and endless war, its monuments from every era standing together. It crowned kings and beheaded them, its royal palaces and revolutionary squares glowing together in golden light. It gave the world revolution, art and light, a glowing beacon of museums and monuments radiating inspiration. Today, 30 million pilgrims still come, visitors from around the world gazing up at the tower, awestruck. Not for the dates, but for the feeling, drifting along a lamplit bridge as the river glows. The feeling that here, in this radiant living city, anything at all might still be truly possible. A swamp became the dazzling capital of the world. Mud and reeds transformed into glittering, eternal Paris. And that is the real story of Paris, its tower glowing timeless over the Seine at dusk.